Join us Sunday, July 14th, for the 7th annual Tigers Minor League Report MLB Draft Show, hosted by Chris Brown and Rogelio Castillo, with special guest Matt Broder of Woodward Sports and Locked On Tigers host Scott Bentley. Who will the Tigers draft at pick number 11? Will the Tigers pick cause further frustration on waiting for the future? The show will be starting at 7 o'clock and will be going live until 9:30. Tune in on the Tigers Minor League Report YouTube channel on Sunday, July 14th for all the draft coverage and more. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel today.
Well, all right. Welcome to another episode of the Tiger Minor League Report Recap Podcast, week number... I can't believe I'm actually going to say this. I think it's week 13 already. Week 14. I'm Rogelio Castillo. Alongside me is nobody at the moment. Chris Brown and Brandon will be joining me shortly, as the Tigers right now are in the top of the eighth, 7-0 Phillies. It's been pretty much a one-sided game. I mean, you can take away a positive that Casey Mize pitched pretty well outside the rough first inning, and then the triple play, some just bad baseball in general. And right now, the Stanley Cup Final, Game 7, is at the intermission 1-1 between the two teams, between the Oilers and the Panthers. I've been watching a little bit of the series, and I don't have a rooting interest in either team. Truthfully, I want Edmonton to win. Rooting interest, as I just said, Edmonton to win. I like Edmonton to win because I would like them to break the streak. The last Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup was the Canadiens in 93. I was talking about that series a couple of weeks ago with my brother, and just recently, a friend of mine, the Kings Canadian series, the Kings Maple Leaf series, the Western Conference Finals was one of the best conference finals I've seen. But yeah, this has been a pretty good series to watch, and slowly get my way back in the NHL a little bit. I used to watch a lot of hockey growing up, but I just don't have the bandwidth anymore like I used to. So, also, we have some new exclusive content on our Patreon. I've been meaning to put some more stuff on there. Essentially, if you're supporting us on there, essentially you're doing it just to help out the cause. But we need to throw out some extra bonus content in there. So I'm guilty of it. But we did one on Dylan Dingler, whether he should be called up or not. So if you go to our patreon.com/Tigers Minor Report, you're part of one of the paid tiers, or if you're part of our YouTube super members on either Motor City Metrics or on this channel, you'll be able to get that. So, but yeah, the Oilers defense is better, looking better than the Tigers tonight, and the Tigers have been a brutal watch, even over the weekend series with the White Sox. I mean, the White Sox also, the game on Friday in which they were double off like that was one of the worst things I've seen in a long time, and that's just some little league crap there. So we're getting dumbed down by a little league there. And here's Brandon Day for you.
Hey guys,
Brandon,
how's it going?
not too bad. How you doing?
Okay, I might have to kind of sketch away for a bit to finish the recap for someone, but otherwise, I'm here. Day, man.
I was gonna say that it's been a long last couple days here too. We're doing some extra content, just trying to get everything's going. Let's start the Patreon and give them people what they want, a little bit extra. Good evening, Doug. Good to see you in the chat. Keeping it classy. Yeah. I think Chris should be here momentarily, or it's been a while though. When Chris has like a day where he's like running around the whole time, he'll fall asleep randomly, but it's been a while, so
he might be out. We'll see if he shows. I don't know. I mean, the game's in the 8th inning, so
yeah.
Maybe he's just chilling.
Yeah. There's plenty to get to though. There's the SeaWolves made the playoffs against some really unbelievable odds. Let's be honest here. There was some heading in the series, although Chris Brown was adamant, and we were talking with Erie Now News with Isaac over there, and shout out to them. By the way, it's rather funny to me that in our own local market, we don't get the occasional, we're not on Foxworks or whatever those local TV shows are or anything.
Yeah,
it is what it is. I just find it funny because when they bring in a minor league expert, they bring in Pat Caputo. I'm just unfiltered anymore. I just don't care. I don't care. I really don't care because I think we've earned it, So anyway,
Yeah, well,
Anyway,
that's messed up. It's like, we don't exist, but they all read our stuff. So okay.
yeah,
Fine.
or you quote our stuff too. That's cool. Either way,
Yeah,
it got it either way.
Situation normal, unfortunately.
Yeah, but yeah, shout out to you, Isaac, Erie News, to put us on his own market there. But yeah, Greg was there, and I'll tell you this right now, Greg, you did that the last 2 games without your best offensive talent, Lee, who got hit in the head. I mean, it was incredible. And the fact that the offense just came out of nowhere, scored 10 runs in both games.
Yeah.
They were even down early the second game where I think they had a guy, I think the Somerset had a guy who only had pitched 1 start above high A, I believe it was. And there you go. They just were able to go out there and get it done. And that's a veteran team out there. And props to also, I thought that Carlos Pena did a really good job of getting out a bullpen start too. So,
yeah. I mean, yeah, there was a lot. I mean, Carlos Mendoza got hit 4 times or something in that series, lived on base, just absolute wreaking havoc, just the type of dude that anything he touches gets polished because he is all grit. Yeah, there was a lot of good performances. Melton coming through on Friday night with a really good start after he'd been struggling for a few. Yeah, obviously Lee was just on fire. You have to wonder, sweeping the doubleheader. I'm sure they were plenty inspired already, but a little bit of beanball war that went on there on Friday night may have kind of set the fire in there a little bit. Joel Peguero got himself tossed out promptly in the bottom of the 9th, and yeah, Lee took a shot to the head. Hopefully he's all right, because man, that's 2 in 9 days or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Mendoza got hit 4 straight games. 4 straight games he got hit. So
yeah, I mean, he's got some Mark Canna in him. He's not trying to get out of the way, obviously, but yeah, I don't know. Things got a little heated, and maybe that was for the best because they came out on Sunday and just raged offensively. So that was great.
And Harper scores for second, and I'm telling you, here's the thing that cracks me up though is some of the early on Mize sucks, and guys, they're basically a team that won 50 games before the All-Star break or before the end of June. Philly's good. I don't know what you.
Yeah, it's true. Although, I have to say, he looked bad. He did look bad again. And then,
but to be fair, he did get some swings and misses. So
a ton of them. Yeah, Chris Fetter came out when they were down 4-0, and I don't know what he said to him. Maybe keep your arm up. Maybe change the game plan because they're sitting on this or that. But whatever it was, he kind of went off after that. I think Chris looked it up, and there was one start where he had more than 19 whiffs, but I sure as heck don't remember it. 19 whiffs for Casey Mize was pretty nice to see. The slider had a little more depth to it. I don't know. The splitter was fading a little bit more. Maybe that was part of the message. Had a little bit more tail. Maybe there was a little bit more horizontal run. But I looked through all the StatCast data. I don't really see anything that pointed to an obvious arm slot change. I kind of thought he was maybe told to get on top of the ball a little bit more because it looked like his arm was dropping a little bit early on. But I don't know. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was a stark turnaround. That's for sure.
Yeah, it was so something along the lines of Major League, where Roger Dorn goes up to Vaughn and says, "Get this."
Yeah,
that's what happened.
There's no way out of this.
Yeah, Chris Fetter's look. Do you want to go to Mason, England right now? I don't want you to go to Mason, England right now.
Yeah, exactly. You might get hit up by these first 4 guys, so you better get the rest of these 5 out. The top of that order is no joke.
Samuel, I don't blame you.
Oh yeah,
I didn't want to stereotype because you are from I believe Montreal. So
yeah.
But yeah, enjoy your birthday, sir. Have some drinks. Take a shot on us. Yeah, cheers, sir. As the weight of the whole entire nation of Canada weight is on the Oilers' shoulder. Although it's funny, I saw an article about does Edmonton really care if they're the Canada's team? I
have no idea, but I know they want to win, and I don't know much about hockey, to tell you the truth. I got nothing to say about hockey, really. But
yeah, the only thing I gotta say is that the Oilers chick on Twitter, she made quite a scene. Brandon, you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Oh,
no idea.
Just Google Oilers chick or Oilers girl on Twitter, So
we'll do.
I'll
have to check this out after the game.
yeah. Yeah, do that after the game because if you can't, if you do it during the game, you'll get distracted. So, but anyway, like, yeah, no, we'll get to Gabe Alvarez's performance, and he had got a chance to congratulate him today earlier, and yeah, one hell of a job by Alvarez.
Yeah,
but let's talk about the Tigers over the weekend as the White Sox. They took 2 out of 3 from the White Sox, which mercifully, I mean, thank God.
You should.
Yeah, you should. Yeah. They went out and got 11 runs. They hit up Jonathan Cannon pretty well yesterday, where to the tune of Riley Green continues to just be Riley Green, get that all-star status. He's one of the few Tigers that probably the only Tiger that deserves, at least in our opinion. Cole Keith yesterday, 4 for 5. He hit the ball pretty well. And again,
starting to find a little power. Yeah, starting to find power, but not really what we're hoping for yet. But
that was a home run. The home run off that changeup was nice. Was an opposite field, so that was good to see.
Yep.
And in terms of like what the pitching was able to do, Olsen finally got rewarded. He got run support, which was nice.
Mm-hmm.
And
and Olsen looked good. You know, left a couple runners out there, and Will Vest came on and let them in. But there we go.
Oh man, no one wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that, my friend. Nobody.
From all this, anyway, I've gathered the gist of what this is about.
Yeah, you'll gather then some more. And also apparently she's on Playboy now too, so there you go. But yeah, then Akil Baddoo hit a home run too, so there was a couple things about that. But it was Saturday's game where I just kind of, this is where it was like one of those I expected the Tigers to have that signature game where it's just they go out and look flat against, and of course it's always against when Kenta Maeda starts, and nothing. Brandon, again, you talked about this. You're waiting for that. Like, here we go. Maybe we'll turn around then. Nope. Nothing.
No, not really. No, I mean, obviously this team desperately needs Kerry Carpenter back. But it continues to be the bullpen. We got in a big argument yesterday about using Will Vest with inherited runners on base, and it was a 9-0 game. But what came out of it is I don't know who our best reliever is. I don't know who our good relievers are anymore. You can kind of trust Foley pretty well. Holton's usually pretty solid. Chapin's had a couple better outings lately, but he's been bad this year. So I can't even really argue with anything about bullpen usage with Hinch right now because I don't know who's good. I can't really tell. You got Bo Brisky pitching pretty well, and other than that, it's pretty sketchy group overall. And you figure by this point in the season they'd start to get somebody dialed in. That's what we've seen the past couple of years with Fetter. There is that even if they started slow, guys started to get better and improve into the summer months and stuff like that. And we just haven't really seen a whole lot of it yet. So they're all healthy. I guess there's that. So hopefully somebody can get it going, but it hasn't been very impressive from the bullpen at all. And the offense isn't good, but the bullpen, is kind of what held them together last year. And this year it's kind of been terror bad, and they've lost a lot of close games, whereas last year they won a lot of close games. So should have gone out and got Mason Miller. Obviously, jeez, that's what I would have done if I was president of baseball ops.
They got one Miller.
What would that cost? Fred Jackson drove. I don't know.
They got one. Yeah, they got one Miller. They got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not a bad Miller at the time. I was like, all right, at least they did something because I thought they were coming back with, pretty much bringing the band back together. At least they went and got 2 guys, but yeah, it hasn't really gone their way.
Yeah, there's by the way, the other thing that came out today real quick that I don't want to get too random, but it was really weird to see the Texas coach is not coming back after 3 straight College World. I don't know if you guys saw that or not earlier.
Oh no, UT?
Yeah, UT coaches fired. They fired David Pierce after 3 College World Series appearances. So I saw that earlier.
Need more than just appearing. You need to win them all.
Yeah.
Texas.
Yeah.
Look, Dombrowski, you've been here a long time, see, and you've never won the big one. So get out. I don't know.
No, but
maybe Dave was on the way out the door, as we've all speculated before.
Oh yeah, it was just a matter of what it was. I think it's still John Henry just counting his money. Harrison. Harrison says hi, by the way.
Oh,
Oh, there you
What?
go.
I wouldn't have this might be the first time that Tara's ever actually tuned in for a live show.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs.
Hello.
Brown, the
Brown.
infamous Mrs. Brown.
Hello, Tara. Hello, Harrison. Good to
Shout
see
out
you.
to Tara. Shout out to Harrison.
Shout out.
Yeah. So yeah.
Chris, sorry. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I don't know what I was gonna say. Was I saying something?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No.
I know I had somebody who's gonna say something. Mr. Greg Yang.
Ah,
Hey, guys.
Join us.
Yeah.
let's go.
Yeah.
I hope my
Congratulations.
couch is a good enough backdrop for you tonight.
It's better than the guest bedroom, I think. Yeah.
Guest bedroom, basement. I think we're good. Yeah.
Well,
Number 2
congratulations.
or 1.
Congratulations. I know your schedule in September is going to get crazy, and this is where you're going to earn your money here. But from a broadcaster point of view, I mean, you had a kind of a trifecta going. You had Somerset. It's hot. It's like 90 degrees. And then your star player goes down. It's just a weird week in general. And somehow Gabe Alvarez
willed them.
I don't know. Gabe's got the magic touch. I don't know what it is, but he just finds a way to say the right things at the right time, and they go out there and they perform. They had a team meeting after the 5th straight loss on Tuesday night. And he didn't even tell me they were going to have a meeting. I think it was just kind of a spur of the moment thing, a little gut check time. And then they responded like, I mean, they came out like a completely different team on Wednesday. And I think that was the night that they had the big lead and almost blew it late. But yeah, it was just a polar opposite from the end of the Altoona series. And they knew what they needed to do, and they really needed to win 5 in a row against a Somerset team, and it's not an easy place to play. And they got it done. I just marvel at the fact that Gabe knows how to pull the right levers at the right time.
One of the things that I noticed was that they just started running wild. Like 22 stolen bases, I think.
Yeah,
just like
so. The state of catching in the minor leagues is pretty brutal right now. And then you throw in the fact that has the worst throw-out percentages in the league. I mean, it was, I think the one guy, Cascara, was like 2 of 30 throwing out base stealers. The kid they just brought up from A-Ball, who I think he's a prospect. I'm not sure where he ranks, but he's a prospect for them, Jesus Rodriguez. He was I think he allowed 59 successful steals in A-Ball this year. So the Yankees have had a history, and this goes back to like Gary Sanchez, where they just favor the offensive catching and the defense just goes away. But I mean, it seemed like every time Carlos Mendoza or Gage Workman or I mean, even Steven Scott got on base, they just take off.
Yeah.
And they had no shot of throwing guys out. So they used that to their advantage, and it really put the pressure on Somerset. And that's the best I've seen that team play all year. And I know Chris and Raj, you and I have talked offline about the fact that there just hasn't been a whole lot of consistency amongst the club this season. And you get that sometimes with veteran clubs in the minor leagues, but they turned it on at the right time, and it was very cool to see them achieve the goal and getting back for a 3rd straight year.
8 stolen bases on Thursday night. Yeah.
That's
wild out there.
So that set a franchise record, but it's kind of a franchise record with an asterisk next to it. Minor league stats were not controlled by the same outfit prior to 2005. And so we have lost years of data, and they've actually just struck up a relationship with the Elias Sports Bureau. So hopefully we'll be able to capture a lot of that data that has been just out there in the ether somewhere. But yeah, team record, since I guess we'll just call it a team record, 8 stolen bases in one game. And it was impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you guys didn't have Jackson Jobe. You thought you'd have Jackson Jobe this whole time. That's another thing you guys had to overcome. And
we had one
rotation was pretty
starting
solid.
pitchers last week. Literally 2 starting pitchers for 6 games.
Yep.
Yeah, Bergner went down, and Adam Wolf, one of your dependable left-handed relievers for the last few years, out. Just stitching it together with popsicle sticks was amazing.
Yeah, and because of all the injury issues they've had in West Michigan, they had nobody to send.
Yeah.
So it was pretty much guys go out there and figure it out. And I think it adds a little bit of a chip on your shoulder too when you're going against a Yankee affiliate and they're bringing up arms from Tampa to play in a doubleheader, and it's like the Tigers would love to do that. They just don't have anybody. So the Yankees had all the luxuries in the world in that series, and Erie just got them at the right time and played just tremendous baseball.
Yeah.
And so at the same time, it corresponds with the fact that Connor McDavid, former Erie Otter,
Yeah.
It's just like this whole cosmic thing for Erie going on. So maybe it's all the forces.
Hey, man, everything's coming up Erie right now, I guess. But, Raj, to your point about the temperatures, 90 would have been cool this week in Sunset. And you guys know me. I'm a big heat guy. Give me all the heat. Give me all the humidity. I actually got a little sick on Friday night because I stupidly went for a run in the afternoon and it was 100.
Oh, so that run you sent me did come back to haunt you, right?
Oh yeah, the run I sent you came back to haunt me because I went out and I ran 3 miles and the heat index at the time was 102, and then I decided to sit by the pool for an hour and do some work. So I was just baking in the heat all day, and I turned to my broadcast partner Sam at the end of that game, and I said, I need a cold shower and air conditioning because I feel like I may vomit right now. And then I slept until 1 o'clock on Saturday just to sleep it off because I was in bad shape.
He was definitely.
The ball is gone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Something was gone, and it was almost my dinner that night.
It's weird how that sneaks up on you too. Like, you just don't feel right, and then all of a sudden it's like you have the flu for a half hour if you don't get cool.
No, and I was prepared for yesterday, and it got hotter as the day went on, and so I let poor Sam call the second game by himself as we were getting ready for the celebration and the post game media stuff, and I chugged 2 Gatorades, had 3 liquid IVs, and I was still just like, oh, this is brutal.
Yeah, oh, that's bad. Yeah, I did a whole bunch of chainsaw work behind my parents' house, cutting down trees for about 2 hours on Sunday, and I felt the same, and it wasn't even that hot. It was only like 85 by then.
I don't know what manual labor is like, but I imagine chopping down trees would suck.
Yeah.
I mean, I still had a machine. There's no axe involved. There was no Instagram, unfortunately.
It was 90s here for the better part of a week and a half or so, and just mowing the lawn was it was not fun. Yeah. So to play baseball in that, probably not great, but they did a hell of a job.
It wasn't ideal. I went down to the dugout in the 6th inning of Game 2 yesterday, and Trey Cruz came off the field, and he literally looked like he had been sprayed by a fire hose. He was so like his jersey was just wet, and I'm like, that has to be just miserable.
Yes.
Yeah, you guys were talking about during the broadcast too. The catchers in the consideration of the gear too, and
that happened with Jesus Rodriguez in Game 1 yesterday. He actually had to get pulled from the game. The athletic trainer came out with electrolytes for him, and he was cramping up, and they were like, "Yeah, let's get him off the field." It was not fun conditions for those guys to play. I mean, it was hard enough trying to broadcast in that. I can't imagine playing, especially the catchers.
Yeah.
Yankees
couldn't handle the heat.
The Yankees could not handle the heat. That is exactly what happened. The Yankees could not handle the heat.
And then it's I think we've talked about this a couple of times, talked about the series, Raj and I have, but we have barely even touched on the fact that there was a bench clearing incident during the week too. It was just like, whatever. That's like the 8th thing we need to talk about.
Yeah, the bench clearings in the minor leagues are just so ridiculous at times.
Adorable, I'd even say. Yeah.
Oh my god. It's a case of mine's bigger. No, mine's no. Your mine's bigger than yours. No, mine's bigger than yours. And they sit there and they bow up, and then you have the coach who finds the one guy to restrain because he's going crazy and nothing ever happens, and then warnings get issued. It was a whole lot to do about nothing, but it was a scary moment when Hao-Yu went down. That was one of the scarier ones that I've seen. And that guy McKinley Moore, he has some big league time, but he doesn't look like a guy who's been in the big leagues.
Yeah.
Didn't
he hit someone else? He hit Holton the same inning too. Right?
Yeah, he plunks Lee in the head, and then he hits Holton on the shoulder.
Man.
And then he walked the next guy to walk the bases loaded. I mean, his command, they should have pulled him out after the second hit by pitch.
Yeah.
Because somebody was going to get hurt, and Lee did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hopefully the intern who played Suicide is Painless also got reprimanded. That was one of those things where I was coming back from Midland. I went to go see the Loons game that got canceled, and I was catching up, and I was sitting there going, wait, what?
I couldn't believe that. I assumed it was some intern who just presses a button automatically when somebody
and that's
gets hit
what
by
it
a pitch.
was too. And then I had the lovely woman in front of me who decided to think that it was me doing it and yelling at me. And let's just say that she got put in her place.
It was a fun weekend in New Jersey.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's just by that point on what was that? Wouldn't that have been Friday night?
Yeah.
By that point in the night, I was feeling the heat exhaustion, and I was not going to stand for someone berating me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't blame you at all.
The joys of minor league broadcasting, where the fans are 10 feet away from you at all times.
I was gonna say, then like just a week ago, you're whisked away in Houston, and
I know.
Yeah, it's just
luxurious digs to be back to reality.
Don't get soft, Greg. Don't get soft.
So one of the things I wanted to ask you too before we let you go is
Yes.
like, so right now, the end of the second half, it seems like they can relax a little bit. West Michigan this year, I mean, we've talked about the lack of reinforcements coming up, comparatively speaking, last year. So my question to you is, as far as like just for Gabe, I mean, knowing the security of the playoff spots there, you get Joe back, which is going to be good news.
Sure.
But as far as like, I mean, you guys signed some veteran today from Long Island Ducks. So it's almost like, I feel like do you think the SeaWolves roster is going to be a little more creative? It's going to be challenged a little bit this second half of the season.
It's tough to say, because I think overall, Raj, the intent, and we've talked about this before, the quality of play in the minor leagues this season has been just really bad, and this is probably the worst quality of play I've seen in the Eastern League in my time here, and I think it's a multitude of things where you have the domestic roster limits. We're still feeling the ill effects of that lost year of development from COVID, and then the shortened draft in 2020, and now shortened drafts going forward have really put a bad circumstance together for the quality of play in the minor leagues. I mean, you're seeing outlandish scores every night. You're seeing poor defensive play all around. And I think that's really, from my standpoint, I think that's what separates Erie from some of the other clubs. Is Gabe Alvarez is not going to stand for that kind of stuff. He's not going to stand for sloppy play. He's got those guys out there every day working on defense to get better. Gabe, he smartly had them hitting in the cages in Somerset when it was 1,000,000 degrees outside. So he's got a good feel for a lot of the intangibles. But it's tough to say, because you look around and I looked the other day at what's coming up potentially for Cleveland and what's coming up for Pittsburgh, who are both in our divisions, and it's like they got nothing in an A-ball right now. And so I think it's just going to be, whoever gets hot near the end of the second half is who Erie will see. But unlike in the past couple of seasons, that the roster construction has forced Gabe to be a little creative this year in how he manages ball games. And I think it took him a little feeling out process earlier in the year of how to sort of manage this roster a little bit, because you had a guy, like Carlos Mendoza, who can do so many little things right for you, and he can bunt for a hit, he can swipe bases. We're running a lot more. So I don't want to say it's small ball, but it's just different from the way that it was the last couple of years, because you don't have the big boppers that you have. I mean, in 2021, you would never even think of laying down a bunt, or 22, that was with Parker and Dane Myers and Lipsius and all those guys. You would never think of laying down bunts in that situation. Now, you have to be creative, and Erie's finding ways to score runs. They've got a little bit of pop. Obviously, having Hao-Yu in the lineup is a big part of that. But it's just, I think it's forced Gabe to manage a little differently this year, and I don't necessarily think that's the bad thing for even his development as a manager.
Yeah. Yep, trying to find all those edges, and all those things you're talking about, like the trends that are going on. Yeah, just being aware of that stuff, and ready to take advantage. If the Yankees catchers are bad, run wild on them. Why not?
Yeah, no, and I'll take a line that AJ Hinch uses all the time. It's winning the margins, and Erie, better than everybody else in the Southwest Division, can win games in the margins, and I think that is what got them into the playoffs. And I think for the second half, look, it's tough to, if you're a player, your obviously number one goal in the minor leagues is to advance to the next level. So you have personal motivation in that respect. But it was weird at times last year when you had the playoff spot locked up, where it's almost like, oh, well, we just lost a crushing game and it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's a different feeling when you have that playoff spot locked up and you're only in June. But hopefully they get healthy. I expect Jackson Jobe back in another week or two.
He's all right.
And we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But
Yeah, hopefully you guys will get Ham up there fairly soon. He looks like he's about ready to go. So I know you can't ask for that.
Yeah.
We did actually. Somebody asked us a question, and it's about Hao-Yu, and I figure you've seen him about as much as anybody. And he basically said, "Well, what is he as a prospect? Is he like, who does he compare to that you've seen coming through there over the last 15, 20 years?"
Oh gosh,
I hate to put you on the spot. I've kind of made the comparison to Paredes a few times, just kind of the body size
but a heck of a nicer guy.
Fair enough.
No, Lee is Lee's a tough one because he is, pardon my French, but he's a balls to the wall player at all times. He swings hard, he runs hard. Even in the field, I think sometimes he's he's on 90 miles an hour in a 45 zone, and he's sort of doing too much at times. And he's just a young, aggressive guy, and I think that benefits him, but it's also to his detriment as well at times. I'm always so bad at player comps. I mean, Paredes body wise probably similar. Lee's got a little pop in that bat, more so than I think anybody really expected this year.
Much more aggressive approach, it seems to me, anyway, than Paredes, for sure.
Yeah, no, very aggressive. He looks to pull the ball when he can. He's pretty much a center to left hitter for the most part, but where he struggles is that outside rail of the strike zone right now. I think that's going to be the interesting thing if they end up promoting him to Toledo at some point. I think that might be the one area where he starts to get a little exposed up there. But in Double A, you just don't have the expertise on the pitching side that's going to exploit the weaknesses on a consistent basis that you're going to have at that Triple A level. But Lee's good, and Gabe Alvarez has said he's a big leaguer, and everything I've seen this year indicates that he's going to be a big leaguer. He plays fine in the field, but I think a lot of times the errors with him are especially on the throws where he's just so amped up and he gets that baseball and just chucks it.
I was just gonna say, like, that's one thing at third. I noticed that his left motion left to right is fine, but it was just seemed like he had like plenty of time. I remember I was there when I went to Erie last time. That time in the world, I'm like, what the hell is he doing? Like just
and that's
carnival fastball.
He'll get the balls quickly, and then it's almost like, oh, I'm gonna just throw this through a brick wall, and then he chucks it into the fifth row. Those are the kind of mistakes that he's making. And again, it's an aggressive young player, and I'd rather see him be that way than be a passive fielder. He'll learn in time. He's only 21 years old, and so there's no reason to rush him right now, because I'm sure the column up crowd's going to really start rearing their ugly heads very soon here. But he's just he makes aggressive mistakes, and I'd rather you have someone making an aggressive mistake, charging a ball versus waiting back on a ball. You never want errors, but you'll take those errors much rather than a guy who's not being aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, you can go too far the other way, trying to be like, just like too technically perfect out there, and and make yourself sloppy that way, or be too slow on the throws. Peyton Graham is a little bit the same way at West Michigan. It looks like he's trying to get two guys out on every play. It's like a ground ball to shortstop,
and that's pretty much
100 to first.
It's just literally, and he's a fiery guy. I mean, if there's a fiery guy, he's going to defend. Anytime there's been an issue with guys getting hit or anything, he's the first guy up there barking. I mean, he's well liked in the clubhouse, and like I said, he's going to be a big leaguer long term. I don't know if he's a second baseman or a third baseman. I just don't think we've seen enough of a sample size over at third yet with him. But I think they have some options. He's athletic. They've got some options with him. But no doubt in my mind that he's a guy that's going to be able to translate to the big league level with that bat.
Love it.
All right. Well, Greg, we'll let you go back to enjoying your evening. But when are you coming to Detroit? When are you coming to Detroit again?
I have. I'm on the call on the 6th in Cincinnati.
Nice.
And then I've got a Dodger game. I think it's the 13th. So
out in LA or here?
No, that's here, I think.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, it'll work out well because I've got that game, and then my wife's family has a place up in Glen Arbor, so we're going up there over the All-Star break, and then I fly with them to Toronto.
Oh, nice.
Cool. Yeah,
So
that sounds pretty
I'll
good.
be sure to look up all the high schools of where all the Blue Jays went.
They have 13 grades there.
Yes.
Yeah, you have to and make sure you say what does it say? They say grade 11. They say grade first, then they're. So
Is that what it is up there? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll sure do that. And if there's any Detroit connections up there, I got it.
Yeah.
Say Coach Shores. All right, Greg. Thanks so much for.
All right, thanks guys. Appreciate all you do.
Congrats.
Thanks, man.
All right.
See ya. All right, that's
that was great.
also inside
Greg
baseball
Gagne?
there. Yeah, Greg Gagne, the
The,
voice of the
Yeah.
SeaWolves, and I would say the fifth Beatle, if you will, or the
Yeah.
Tigers broadcasting.
No word on if he took out Craig Monroe, but no.
Oh man, yeah, we
No,
can't
but-
ask about that. Yeah.
No, yeah, Craig Monroe's a color guy. Greg's play-by-play. He's the third play-by-play.
Yeah,
Second
He'll get
play-by-play on radio, actually.
as
Yeah.
in color TV.
He'll get to call some Shohei Ohtani. It'll be
Color
fun.
commentary, yes.
Yeah, color
Yeah, that I should probably put in for credentials for that Dodgers game, but I doubt I'll get them.
Yeah, that would be
I
fun
know,
to be at. That's for sure.
Somebody asked me if I was going to. I'm going to
Not
start
for the
one more.
Tigers.
I'll get back to more games. I just realized too, like I'm not. After my kind of disgust with what I was talking about with you guys with Motor City or that site, whatever. I'm just gonna get back to writing for our site and just crank it out for us. So there we go.
There we go.
But anyway, so we got plenty about Erie. We'll get into Toledo here in a second. Right now, in case you're curious, it is still 1-1 midway through the second halfway. Well, about 8 minutes left here in the second period between the Oilers and the Panthers. Getting a little feisty there, and I was watching the game in the background. So for those who are not, but in terms of like the offensive, the offense there's some stats about the MLB. Sam mentioned about the MLB offense struggling too a little bit, and there was also an interesting article today before we move on to Toledo about, and this was done by JJ Cooper, that college players are actually getting bigger. So there was something about that. I don't know if you saw that or not, Brandon, but it's an interesting article in Baseball America.
That is
about
interesting.
collegiate players.
Was the kind of the thrust of it that guys are taking longer as a result too? Like they're pulling more big athletes, and it kind of takes longer to develop some guys like that. Kind of like how we've always talked about with pitchers.
Yeah. So that's a crutch of it, but also there's the power numbers and those kind of things are more prevalent. And by the way, we will be starting later this week. I already started working on some college. We're doing some college profiles for the site, so that'll be rolling along pretty well. It's beginning the draft season, so onward and upward to Toledo. As now the Mud Hens, I felt bad because Chris and I were talking about this yesterday that we didn't know the Mud Hens lost 10 in a row. Like it was just like it was one of those things where I think we're just used to. I don't want to say used to it a little bit, but it was just that like we're so. I don't know, Chris. Like we've been.
I think at times we do take like player over team. We're paying more attention to what the players are doing, and when the series are split and they lose, they go 1-5 one week, and it's the last 5 games of that week, and then they start 0-5 the next week. It gets lost on you. But
I know we don't really think that much about wins and losses unless it's like the Erie situation where you've got a chance at the postseason and stuff like that. I watch these teams based on who's starting. Whoever the best starter is that night, I'm probably going to watch some of that game and then just check in a little bit elsewhere, and then go to your Twitter handle and see what clips you guys posted.
And
that's the process for me.
We'll talk a little bit about because we were paying attention to with Lakeland too, because they were on the hunt for the playoffs. So when it's like that, that's a good point. But it's the middle of the season. The Mud Hens are 15 games out of first place or whatever. It's like you're not really caring. And it was a really bizarre week because they were scoring plenty of runs. St. Paul just went bonkers against all of their pitchers. Even in their final win, they just destroyed every pitcher that.
It was a football score, like 29, wasn't it?
Yeah, every starter that Erie or Toledo put out there was in trouble.
Yeah, they won 29, but Madden got absolutely crushed. So
yeah, that's been rough. But
we
can talk about that offense first. Like Dylan Dingler had that monster game on Sunday, but he hadn't done much that week, and then comes out and has 7 RBIs in one game. He has a week's worth of RBIs in one day, 2 doubles. I thought he came, 20 feet from hitting a grand slam too. It wasn't, I thought he just missed it on the bat. Didn't miss it in the field, but just missed it, and it ended up being a sac fly for him. But 2 home runs, that was fun to see.
Yeah,
and Navigado had a monster week, 4 homers.
Yeah, Navigado is getting a lot of love at this point for sure.
He is. We may have to do like a special thing on him at some point to talk about why he's in Toledo, why he's not in Detroit, and stuff like that. But
yeah, because after Zach McKinstry's day today, I think people have finally crossed the Rubicon. Yeah. Going to come up with torches calling for him. I mean, and obviously, we didn't expect Kreidler to do a whole lot, but he's also kind of struggled defensively, which is a little, I mean, not totally uncharacteristic to make an error here or there, but I don't know, it's been pretty sloppy. So
Panthers just scored 2-1. Panthers just scored. By the way, McKinstry's getting a lot of
what an asshole.
He was the anger he was inside with fans today alone. But Florida just looks like they put it on the net. I'm not sure how it was scored, but anyway, 2-1 Panthers, 4:49 left to go, and he was right. Oh crap! I filmed him. Okay, sorry. I was watching a highlight. I got caught up. But McKinstry is drawing a lot of ire, will draw a lot of anger from the fan base, and I think it's time to. Again, I'm not saying the Tigers are going to cut ways. I mean, he did hit a home run, but it's the White Sox.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, he's a pretty decent 4A player. You can't be running him out there very often, in the major leagues, obviously. So, but of course, they don't have much else. It kind of sounds like Javi might be back before the All-Star break now, maybe even Carpenter, and then maybe we'll see what we get the rest of the way. But at this point, it kind of matters little as far as the standings go. They're going to be 6 games under 500 after this loss. So I don't know. They're pretty cooked. They'd have to go on some kind of crazy little run here before the All-Star break to change anybody's opinions about anything, I'm sure.
By the way, Miguel Diaz, old friend, is back with Toledo after they resent him back from Houston. And he was out there this week. Is the bullpen across the board, so much so they signed an Indy League guy, Matt. I think I forgot the gentleman's name. He has been in the Eastern League before. He pitched with Reading. He's pitched with Richmond. So that's how bad the bullpen has been. I mean, we're seeing that Freddie Pacheco. Hopefully at some point soon we get to see him up here. But everybody was like, "Oh my God, Young," when he was scratched from the start late.
Yeah.
People thought that there were some people saying he was getting called up, which is like, no. There was some sort of logical explanation. He was to the IL with a sore wrist. Alex Lang, we mentioned last week or on Thursday, he's out for the year. I totally forgot that Faedo was down doing rehab assignment too, by the way. It's just been like just all these, it kind of blends in together. But also Ty Madden continuing, Chris, Brandon,
It's bad. It's bad for Ty Madden. This is there's just the command is not there at all. It's everything is either sprayed like 5 inches out of the zone or right down the pipe. And hitters in AAA are good enough to make you pay for that. And I don't know what the solution is. I've been talking more and more about just moving to the bullpen. I don't think they want to do that yet. He may be taking lumps for the rest of the year before they make a decision like that. But it's been tough. But like as I said, you see everybody got lit up this week. I didn't put Brian Salmons. He got lit up. Yeah. Manning got destroyed.
Manning got crushed. Yeah. Montero actually probably had the best start of the group, and it wasn't good.
He had he was at like 60 pitches through two innings, and I thought they were going to pull him, and then he actually went and had his longest start of the year. So and there's some thinking that he may be coming up to start for the Tigers in 2 days.
Because they're going to push back the rotation a day to try to spare Flaherty maybe a day and just get everybody a blow.
But I mean, Herter, they hit up Herter, so I don't want to make too much of it, but it's I think Madden's ERA in AAA is like 12 in a not insignificant number of outings. So they got to figure something out there. But
he hasn't been up that long, but he was at Erie so long that based on age and experience, he should be getting it together there a lot quicker than he is. But then again, we can go back to what Greg was talking about, how they're just, the competition at the AA level in the Eastern League, at least maybe isn't what it used to be a couple of years ago. I don't know. I don't know how I would quite determine that, but he's in a better position to know than I am. So you know, we thought Madden had maybe figured a little something out with the splitter and, you know, was starting to handle lefties a little better, but it also seemed like the Tigers like saw one good outing against lefties and was like, okay, that's it. That's what we wanted to see. You know,
Well,
moved him up. Now he's just getting killed up here. So
he's running weird reverse splits now where the right-handers are destroying him. It's like, well, all right, well, that's no good.
There was some good insight too by Greg about the competition level, because we don't even think about it from we think about it from a AAA standpoint, but we don't really think about it from the other league standpoint, because we're looking at, we have all this data with AAA and high A or low A, but low A, and so with that in mind, you just don't think about. I didn't realize how bad. I mean, if he's saying this is the worst play you've seen in the Eastern League, I mean, Greg's been in the Eastern League for a while. That's saying some. By the way, Ty Madden's ERA in Toledo is 10.16 right now. He is rocking a 10.16 ERA since he has been called up. And so if you're looking at for any kind of numbers to go, okay, well, maybe there's some positive of it. I mean, his FIP is 6.92.
Yeah.
That's, you know, I've made it a comparison a little bit. They're different styles of pitchers, but I've compared them to Kyle Funkhauser a couple times. And Funkhauser had the same issue when he got to AAA. Not this bad, but he was fine in AA and then got to AAA and it was just, and then they moved him to the bullpen and he ended up being pretty solid, you know, eventually before injuries got him. But I don't know. That's kind of the path I'm seeing for Madden. I don't think the org wants to do that yet, but that's, you know, what I'm envisioning.
Yeah, the problem with him is that he's backed up. You know, Montero's just kind of just spun his wheels, you know, since he's gotten to Toledo. Hasn't quite been able to get the command together either, but he hasn't fallen apart.
Yeah.
And Madden is actually really backed up. I mean, just in terms of pure pitch quality and consistency, he was better at Erie, regardless of the competition. So I don't know. I don't know if there's something wrong there. I don't know if they're working on something and that's kind of messing with him, but it has to go beyond that because he's been horrendous. So yeah, not good.
Yeah. And Mitchell asked, could his velocity tick up in the bullpen? I think, I mean, he's a guy that will work mostly 93, 95 during games, but he's been up to 98, 99 in the past. And I think it's in there. And then, you just focus on trying to throw, you know, 98, 99 in the zone, maybe, or close to the zone and just your slider. Maybe it could work. I don't know. But like I said, I don't think the org is ready to move on from him as a starter yet, but it's been tough.
And maybe they shouldn't, but maybe they should still call him up and put him in the bullpen and let him work with Fetter and Lund and stuff. For you know, you can always move him back. You know, I try to remind myself this. You know, we're seeing Ronaldo Lopez turn into a dominant starter, and who else for the Giants?
That's so weird.
Jordan Hicks. You know,
yeah.
There's a couple of guys who've been converted back and have done really well. So, you know, there's a lot of different paths, and I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you can keep letting them go out there and just get absolutely nuked, you know, for another 2 months or something. So.
Yeah, unfortunately, they might have an alternative. I don't know when Flores is coming back. Pacheco is going to be on kick gloves, so it's just a matter of now. Who are you going to bring on from AA at some point? They're going to force themselves. I mean, they're going to see more likely maybe Carlos Pena go back up there again at one point. Maybe Wilco Hernandez.
Bring up Figueroa. I want Joel Figueroa now that he plunked that dude. I'm all on board. He throws hard, you know. He's kind of Freddie Pacheco light. He's 27, of course, too. But
they're gonna we're gonna see Calvin Coker just randomly come up again.
Yeah,
it's funny when he came in the game yesterday. I was like, wow, I forgot he was on the roster, but he's been buried there for a reason.
They're doing the Alvaro Gonzalez dance as well at Toledo.
Gonzalez feel like the guy's been around since like 2018. I know it's not the case, but
22 or something, 21. I don't even know.
Definitely one of the, I mean, he was one of the signings, and it was the Carlos Irigoyen international class with him and Alvaro Gonzalez. And, sometimes guys like that, they're good dudes or whatever, and quality organizational players, and probably go on to be a hitting coach or something like that down the road.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so, I mean, we talked about Erie quite a bit, so we'll keep this part short, but some stats worth mentioning. But you were talking about the big number from Troy Melton: 6 innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts. And Somerset's not the prospect laden team, but that's still a pretty good outing from them overall. They still have some boppers in their lineup. Hao-Yu is under concussion protocol, so Still no word on when he's going to be coming back, but I'm assuming right again. It doesn't matter right now with them clinching a playoff berth.
No,
let him rest
really.
up. Let him do that. Yeah. So they're gonna just keep it going out there. Austin Bergner, I did not realize he hit the IL. So maybe is this the final? Is this the swan song for Austin Bergner?
Well, I mean, he had been their best pitcher for like the last 6 weeks or so, and that was one of the big bummers. Is that news came out last week, and it was like that's why they had to use 4 bullpen starts.
Yeah,
because they had Melton started and Will Kell started, and then it was they had a couple bullpen. I think Garrett Hill started a game, and they had Carlos Pena come in and do bulk twice, and just a remarkable job to piece all that together, given what they were facing, down 3 games with 5 to play.
Yeah,
in Somerset, that has historically been a really good team and gives them fits, and just bombed on them. Just went out and in at least 3 of those games they were down early and then just blew right past. They're like, you know what? Okay, 4-run lead. Sorry.
And kind of bullied them. I mean,
Yeah.
like we were talking about running the bases. Just playing super aggressive and just like you can't stop us. So. That was cool to see. And Melton coming through, pretty clutch. I mean, they really needed a good start considering how everything else has gone and had to leave him in there a little bit longer than they have been. And he responded well. So that was cool to see. And just some big hits, like Trey Cruz had a couple big hits. Workman came through after, kind of slumping the last 3 or 4 weeks. Holton was hot. So it was good to see. And then, I don't know what to say about Carlos Mendoza's future, but oh my God, I'm loving watching that dude. He's so irritating.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about this last week, and I was just like, I paid a lot of attention this week and was just like, yeah, that guy's a gamer. I don't know if he's got enough power to break into the league, but he'd be fun to have on your team. That's for sure.
Yeah, he's an awesome player. Like you said, awesome player to have, winning player in the minors at least. You hope a guy like that gets a chance sometime down the road, but it's tough, right? Certain guys just don't profile, unfortunately.
I feel like he would be a really good manager down the line. I really believe that. He loves the game of baseball, and I believe his father. I think his father, coached at one point too. I think.
It's kind of a common name, so we're always trying to figure out. There was a Carlos Mendoza who was coaching in the Yankee system, and I don't know if that's the Carlos Mendoza that's coaching the Mets.
Yeah,
I don't think that's the same, but it's tough to figure out. But
I still have people asking me about, I didn't know Carlos Guillen worked for the Tigers again. And it was like,
no.
A lot of Guillens, that's the Miller of Venezuela. So
it's the Castillos of, it's Castillo's just his common name. It's the same thing.
I mean, we got Chris Brown here. I mean, my name's not terribly uncommon either. So there you go. But I guess we should transition with Jackson Jobe, right? About whether or not he'll come up to Erie, and we'll talk about his start.
Yeah. I think, he'll be just fine. He was at 97, 98 with just everything was humming along. Slider looked really, really good. And he was basically just, look, let's just not waste any more time here, folks. Let's just get this over with. And, so.
You can't hit this.
What are you doing? What are you doing? And, Dayton had no chance against it at all. And what's good news, by the way, they're in Lansing this week, and that means I get to go to Lansing. Lansing is, by the way, my favorite stadium of the 3 in Michigan. Sorry, Dan Hasty. I like the Whitecaps at LMCU ballpark. I was at a Loons game, got canceled Friday. Love that stadium too. But something about downtown Lansing, the fact they're in, you have the one ways, you're right smack dab in the middle of downtown. You got all this traffic going around. And you have a ballpark, in ground in the field. And always there's the most entertaining, wackiest games every time I go there too. And there's some, it's not even the food. I don't even care about that. It's just, I love the aesthetic of the apartments over there too. It's a really cool place. Anyway.
That's why I like Fifth Third a lot for that same reason. There's all, you're just in a cool little district. It's all brick buildings everywhere. The skyline is kind of cool. Left field's, kind of an eyesore sometimes, but what are you gonna do? They'll get there. Yeah. I haven't been there this year. Maybe it looks better.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. I contacted Jesse today to get credentials for this week. I don't know if I'll be able to go tomorrow, but Wednesday I'm looking at going, and then I think Thursday Ham goes again. Depends on if we want to go see another Ham start, or if we want to just do our normal podcast, or how we want to do this. But
Well, we don't have Uper this week, and we have Clay. I reached out to Clay from Just Baseball, so we could we could even do it from the stadium out there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the closest stadium to me, so I enjoy going there. It takes me about 45 minutes total to get there, which is, a
full good, Jackson.
Yeah, it's a full Jackson to get up to Jackson Stadium. But yeah, so speaking of a full Jackson, the Jackson Jobe, it was dumb. Like, his first outing, his command was a little bit rusty. You could tell he was missing a lot up, and then the second outing, it was just surgical. Like, I want to say it was 32 pitches to get through 3 innings, and there were 24 strikes, and like the ump missed 2, maybe 3. It was just, his changeup is dastardly. His slider, he was, backdooring it. Just everything you want to see. Using the cutter. He's good.
Just jamming people. Just having his way, just bullying everybody again.
Yeah. Just keep that kid healthy and get him moving along. Because somebody said, Jobe needs to replace Maeda soon. Like, I don't know, he probably could.
Yeah.
I don't think he would put up a 6 ERA in the big leagues, but
I would bank that he'd be better than he's been. But I mean, unfortunately, I was the one who was 100% convinced Jobe would be up this summer if the Tigers were in any kind of position to contend, and they aren't. So I'm sure they're just going to stash him down there. I would like to see him get to Toledo though sooner rather than later, because I don't know. He needs to pitch in traffic. He needs to get hit, and just kind of learn how to deal with that and settle himself down. That's really the only thing left to do other than building up his innings. So I don't know. Hopefully they won't wait too long, but I would imagine they'll probably leave him in Erie for another month or something at least.
Well, that's cool. Stan just mentioned in the chat, by the way, that Flaherty since he's from LA, they moved the start back so he could go home early and spend a few days with his family. So he'll start Thursday with the Angels.
That is nice.
That is very nice. And so his next question was kind of the next question anyways, was just what's up with Campos? I have no idea. I
can't tell you that I've been watching every single plate appearance from Campos, but it's been 2 pretty rough weeks in a row, but the strikeouts and walks are fine. Yeah. He's not striking out and swinging and missing a ton. So it could just be one of those stretches where he's either not stinging the ball, or I don't know if the launch angle has dropped, but it's not like he's not completely lost or anything like that. I think it might just be kind of a slump. Hopefully.
Yeah. I took a brief look, and it does kind of look like he's kind of slumped back into ground ball Campos for a little while. Mm-hmm. So hopefully he'll work that out.
And this kind of happened with him last year, honestly, around this time of year. We were really high on him through May, and then he kind of fizzled out in June, and then he got hurt later. So you hope it's not that. I think he's made some real strides this year, so we'll keep an eye on him, but still above average offensively overall in the year. I think it's a 110 WRC plus. So
yeah,
that's progress. Again, he just turned 21.
And sometimes you face a couple good pitchers in a row, and that's all it takes down there. And then you go back to seeing normal high A pitching for a while, and he might be fine again. So still pretty young.
I mean, you have Carlos McConnell doing Carlos McConnell things, being steady there, and they do get some reinforcements coming up. Patrick Lee, who was a independent league signing, I believe it was.
Yeah,
right.
Evansville, I think. Otters.
Yeah, the Evansville. Yeah, the which is
not Otters. Is it? Are they the Otters too?
Yeah, they're the Otters. The former, so Evansville used to be the Evansville Triplets, the Tigers AAA affiliate back in the day. So there's some Evansville loves there. But so Lee, after a slow start in Lakeland, got hit pretty well as a catalyst for the offense for the Flying Tigers, along with McGonigal and Clark. And so he comes up, and it's right at the right time for the Whitecaps as they start the first half. They need all offensive help they can get, and that'll allow Graham to go back in the infield too, because Graham's been seeing some time in the outfield.
Yeah, well, he's on the injured list right now. So I mean that. Lee he was really impressive down in Lakeland. Now he's 24, right, and that's too old for low A, and I'm glad that they moved him up quickly, because he looks like, tools wise and the look of his swing, they all look pretty good to me. We'll have to see how he performs in higher levels against better pitching, but it wouldn't shock me if he keeps performing. You could have yourself another Winton Bernard situation here, where the kid just keeps performing and eventually gets up to the big leagues. I don't want to say that yet, but
he's a good athlete. Yeah, he's got all the athletic tools you'd want. Yeah.
Yeah, he's fast. The arm is good, and he's hit a couple balls pretty hard, a couple home runs, and so yeah, nice to see him get a bump up there.
Yeah, and hopefully they'll they'll get some reinforcements from from the big boys, Clark and McGonigal, fairly soon. But I don't know. I kind of thought we might see something about that this week, but
So
maybe they'll hang in there a little longer.
There were people reporting as such. I
course,
don't, not necessarily us, but we thought that they would go to the it would play there through the first half of the season. It seems now maybe more like maybe the All-Star break.
Yeah.
Maybe one or both of those guys could be heading to the Futures game, and sometimes you'll see that be like a natural, like, okay, you go out to the Futures game and then you report to your new team.
Yeah, right. You kind of get a break. You go hang out with the boys. You play this fun game, and then now it's back to work at the next level. Yeah, that would make sense to me. McGonigal, he needs to be up. Clark, a little more iffy, but pretty much ready for it. I would say too. At very least, neither one of them seems terribly stressed at Lakeland at all. And I like them stressed. I want them to be struggling a little bit. So.
I think Valencia too. Might as well. I mean, look, if you're gonna,
Eduardo's been really good. They lost Bracino, and then it's like Eduardo Valencia's hitting the crap out of the ball. So okay.
Yeah, and Bennett Lee had a great introduction, but he's not even playing much for West Michigan. So I don't know what's going on there. They could swap catchers there for sure. Valencia has seen time in West Michigan. I seem to recall him hitting home runs for West Michigan last year, maybe one off the scoreboard. But not bad there.
Yep. And then I like that you mentioned Kohlhepp and Yosber Sanchez down there because Yosber is still a little bit wild, but stuff is pretty good. And then Kohlhepp, has just been a mess since he finally came back, but it seems like it's starting to round into a little better form. So hopefully we see something there because either one of those guys could be a pretty good reliever, but Kohlhepp we've been waiting on forever. Yosber at least is still really, really young. So
yeah, no, I put in those bullpen. Their bullpen was pretty good this week. Marco Jimenez is another guy who throws pretty hard and it doesn't always land in the right spot, but those are like 3 or 4 different guys down there with you call it big league arms, right? Like they just need to throw more strikes and figure some things out. But if they do, that could be interesting down the stretch and could be interesting for Erie, in the playoff run.
Yeah. Yeah. And, and the Whitecaps actually have some pitching. I mean, Fields took over from Job and had a good outing, and he's not really a prospect, but not bad. Marcano is pretty effective, and especially down there, that he's got to be a pain to deal with for a lot of hitters there. And then, Dylan Smith is unfortunately just all over the place. I guess it's not happening.
As far as like even reinforcements on the way, if you decided to, we'll get to Lakeland in a second here, but Jake Miller, who if they decide, here's the thing, like what a domino effect I could see is some of those guys we're talking about just now in West Michigan going up to Erie because Erie's going to need some guys to throw innings badly. So I think the domino effect from there is that then we're going to see the likes of perhaps Sears and Miller. We're seeing Adamant's already going up there, so I don't think Miller and Sears are too far behind.
Yeah, Zach Lee too, probably. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting they picked Adamant's to come up. He's kind of the classic left-handed college arm that just dominates low A hitters because he has 3 pitches and can locate them or at least throw them in the zone. And so it'll be interesting to see what he does at high A. But
Miller's kind of fun too. Yeah, he sort of has that like Josh Hader, like turning his back toward you, and then he doesn't throw 97, but he's kind of an interesting pitcher to watch. And Sears has been pretty nasty too. So and Zach Lee's Zach Lee's hard to hit down there. I don't really know quite what I think of his breaking ball, but I don't know. He could come up as well.
Yeah. I think I had I don't know if it updated. I tried to get the bottom part of that slide updated while we were talking, so I don't know if you could refresh it or not. I don't know how that works, but
okay. Let me see if I can pull that up.
Sorry, because I haven't honestly. I hadn't paid a ton of attention to Jake Miller, and then he came in against Bradenton and was just nasty.
Yeah,
it was. I was like, oh my god! 3 innings, I think 5 strikeouts, no hits, no runs. Fastball was like 93, 95. The slider was like multiple different shapes, but they all look good.
Yeah,
and I was like, huh. Now this is interesting because I remember him being pretty bad last year, so they tweaked something with him, but he's got the highest. That's the thing I put in there was among pitchers in the system with. There it is. Yeah, among pitchers with 40 innings pitched or whatever, he's got the highest swinging strike rate in the entire system.
Oh, really?
So we like swinging strikes. Now he is older and in slow A, but there might be something
and
there.
a tricky lefty. Yeah. They don't see a lot of those, obviously, but yeah, I thought he was interesting. So
it's just funny is like you put Santana back, and it's like this. It's just. I mean, I finished up his prospect report, and I put some regression on a little bit of everything. It's just not the same guy at all.
I looked at the first 2 at bats, and it was like walk, pop up, and I was like, okay, he's back.
Welcome back.
Here's hoping.
But
no, we should. I guess we should talk. We talked about this on the Motor City Metrics podcast, but the Flying Tigers were going for the playoffs this week too.
Mm-hmm.
We forget about that. The season was split in half. They actually started the second half. We mentioned that. We should have mentioned that with the Whitecaps too. Is that they started the second half 3-0. They're in the driver's seat right now because for whatever reason in A ball the season the second half starts in the middle of a week.
It's so weird.
But yeah, Lakeland ended up missing out on the playoffs by a half a game. Part of that was because they had one fewer game played because they were in Fort Myers for a monsoon, basically.
Yeah.
And they had 3 of those games rained out, and then two of them were doubleheaders, so they only played 5 games. And they came back home they went to Bradenton, I'm sorry, and then lost on that walk-off grand slam early in the week.
Yeah.
And then they won the next 2 games, and they were there, but Clearwater won, I think 6 or 7 in a row to end the season.
That's the thing. Yeah, you got to give it to the Threshers. As soon as Lakeland took the lead briefly, they hit the gas pedal. So,
and then and they were playing Jupiter, who was going for a playoff spot of their own. So it wasn't like Jupiter was laying down for them or anything like that. But the one thing I did point out in the other show was that somehow Clearwater played by far the fewest number of above 500 teams in the Florida State League this year, 8 fewer games than Lakeland did. So screw you, Clearwater.
Yeah.
But
they
went for it and they gave it. They played really good baseball.
Yeah.
So Nebraska had that, I'm sure he had that mandate, hey, listen, if you lose to Detroit, you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, you're not losing the Tigers. Come on.
Big Dave takes this personal.
Yeah.
YouTube user, interesting question here. Did the kid with the giant hands they drafted get hurt? He did. That's Danye Evans. He is on the injured list. Yes.
Yeah.
He was performing very well so far this year. So they've had a lot of pitching injuries in the low minors this year. A lot of guys that pop up, even interesting names like Jack Bushell or Bushell, who was I think part of this year's international class, 18-year-old out of Australia. Had a couple of good innings and then disappeared, and then he's on the injured list with I think a Tommy John. So, unfortunately, a lot of stuff going on down there, and you don't really hear about it until you either see it in the transactions log or they do that monthly 38 injured minor league update.
Yeah. How many Tommy Johns down? Well, I guess Dunford and anybody else that we can think of. It seemed like most of the injuries were small, but those 2 in particular not good.
Yeah. So, and I didn't update the FCL.
It's okay because when the whole screen went on the fritz for whatever reason, when I present from Canva, it just goes. By the way, his hands, Danye Evans' hands looks like the remind me of Edwin Diaz, who yesterday they showed his hands with the sticky stuff.
Oh yeah.
During the Mets and Cubs game,
but
that big massive hands.
Yeah.
Didn't Montoya had a home run off a major leaguer?
JT Brubaker, he had a home run off of him today. I don't know why a 30-year-old was down. I assume some sort of rehab experience. Yeah, but it was Montilla's 4th home run of the season.
Nice.
I think I posted something earlier because I'm like, I wonder, it doesn't seem that impressive, right? 4 home runs. But I was like, how many times has a Tigers shortstop in the complex league hit 4 more home runs? And it's 4. It was Manny Sequeira, who hit 11, but he's not a shortstop anymore. I think he's an outfielder now.
Yeah. And that was a full season, of course. Yeah.
Reyes did hit 5, and then it was Audi Siriaco, who people may remember from a long time ago. He was like the Latin version of Cale Org. He had all these tools but couldn't hit. And then who else did it? There's one other person. Oh, Anthony Pereira, who was another guy that was like interesting for a little while and then just never became anything. But yeah, I know. Like Monty has cooled off a little bit in June. We were looking at it earlier. Instead of hitting 360 with like twice as many walks as strikeouts, it's 295 with more power and a few more strikeouts. But
yeah, it's crazy. We actually have actual audio of after the home run was hit.
Wow.
I went with Monty Ball today. I don't know. I didn't thought maybe that would be fun. But yeah, you can call him Montequilla or whatever. We'll find out down the road. Somebody asked, would he go to Lakeland when McGonigal goes to West Michigan? I think that's possible. Yeah. It would make sense, right?
Yeah,
you open up an infield spot, and he seems like the one in the complex league most likely to go. But they also have John Peck still around. He's been down there in FCL. He and Callahan.
Yeah,
both injured. They came back.
Every time you see Jonathan Peck, I just think of Gregory Peck. Just looking like this the whole time.
Jonathan Peck.
Shout out to Donald Sutherland, by the way.
We talked about that on the
great actor.
Yeah, it was a bummer. I didn't realize he was such a baseball fan. I didn't know he was Canadian. So there was a lot of things I didn't know about him until he died, which is usually the case. I didn't know that. I wish I had known that, but yeah. And then, in the FCL, it's kind of the same old story with the pitching down there. You see, I think Blake Dickerson had like a 3-inning, no hits, no runs, no strikeouts, no walks performance. Like, all right, well, that's fun.
Pound in the zone.
Paul Wilson continues to get in trouble with walks, but also like strike people out and mostly limit damage. So it's like you feel like there's something there, but you just got to figure out the fastball. Cenk Diaz had a brutal outing.
Yeah,
I was watching it, and I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah. It was all over the place. All over the place.
He's another guy that it's strange. It doesn't seem like he can command his fastball. His slider looks pretty good, and so does his changeup at times. But then the fastball, it's like everything. It's like he's almost like he throws it wrong.
Yeah,
it looks like he's trying to aim it.
Yeah,
it's like down and into lefties.
Yeah.
But
of course, he's never had any pitching coaching before, so who knows what they're working on. And
he's 19, so like that's one of the things that with these young players are exciting. We like that they drafted them, but you also have to accept that there's going to be a lot of growing pains, and some guys might not even make it to like high A.
Yeah,
when you got young players like this, but it's fun because you can dream on them a little bit.
But there's been some good FCL performers that just never went absolutely anywhere. Those hurt sometimes, but you got to keep pretty cool until they get to Double A. That's for sure.
I still remember Austin Shots.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way,
my brief Austin Murr flirtation that one year. Not the FCL, but Lakeland. I was all like, oh, interesting. Yeah. A disciplined guy. Okay.
Clive Perez, by the way, got signed to West Michigan too, right? Did we mention that earlier?
Clive Perez?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He sent back to he was in West Michigan, and then they sent him back to Lakeland for a little bit, and so he's back up at West Michigan.
Yeah, he's back up, and then the other name too, Garrett Apker.
Apker
will be with the Flying Tigers now. So
Apker, yeah, I don't know. We'll
Mitchell's saying Patrick Lee, Max Clark, Seth Stevenson, and Dom Johnson would be a fun outfield. That is a pretty fun outfield for sure.
Yeah, that's a lot of speed. Also, it's 4 players in one outfield, which is legal.
Yeah.
But
that's right. Damn the shift ban, even in the minors now.
But you could probably put Dom Johnson is like a second baseman, and Patrick Lee was listed as a second baseman for some reason. You could be just have him play deep second.
We did. Who we didn't mention. Who didn't come up in this entire podcast is one Spencer Q. Torkelson, because
I was just going to say, what? This is the first time in probably 3 years we've not mentioned Spencer Torkelson's name on a podcast at all, like not once. And that was even the way the show is flowing tonight.
And then I did it anyway. Should have waited.
Dick.
Well, it would have. Yeah, obviously it was Toledo section, but we mentioned it. Toledo was getting smoked every single game, and then on Saturday night they were down 9-0, and then just put together this ridiculous rally in the ninth where they scored 7 runs. Navigato hit a grand slam.
Yeah.
And then Torkelson struck out to end the game, I believe. I was like, oh,
this is correct. Yeah.
And then
On
Sunday
96
when they had
96 too.
Sunday when they had the huge offensive explosion, like everybody got in on it. Riley Unroe hit like 5 hits, and Ryan Valade had a bunch of hits, and Bly Madris had a bunch of hits, and Torkelson I think went 1 for 5 with 2 strikeouts, 3 strikeouts.
This is the garbage you give me.
It was just 2. It was just 2, Chris. But
Just
yeah,
2 strikeouts.
yeah, it was pretty bad.
I'm gonna have to like really focus to see if there's anything that's changing there. We don't I don't even care about the stats, right? Like if he's trying something new and struggling, that would be great. But I don't think he is. People have talked about like a little toe tap or something, but I don't know.
I've seen him play with it, but yeah, I mean,
It's not consistent.
It's not consistent. And I mean, the whole thing the Tigers were on him about it, right? Was like, getting on his backside and getting more leverage, and more balance in his lower half. And he's still spread out, looking pretty 50-50 and just spinning. So I don't know. So this might all be the process of him having to be mentally broken before he can, recognize that something has to change. But I wish he would just wake up, I know it's got to be hard. You've been the man, and whatever. And, for 4 months last year, he hit high velocity. That was the crazy thing. The crazy thing is that he did do it. It wasn't like he just was ambushing a bunch of garbage. I think he had like a 410 WOBA against 95 plus for those 4 months from, June 1st on. But I don't know. He's looking cooked, unfortunately. I don't know. You can't give up on him. I'm not giving up on him yet. But yeah, I don't see much sign of any change or progress. So.
As far as like getting like something Kevin mentioned, the Tigers draft a first baseman in the first 4 rounds this year. It depends. I think the Tigers are just going to go back the best available athlete, as much as the cliche as that sounds. And we're, like I said, we'll be diving more into it. But I think the one thing about Spencer Torkelson before we get out of here is that maybe this all-star break, and Ty Cobb actually in the chat said send him an outside coach or line drive or something to that effect. It's up to him. If Torkelson wants to do it, he'll do it.
Yeah.
So right now it was the same thing. It's like the same thing with Gage Workman. It took a long time for the organization to get through to Gage Workman before they finally was like, you know what? All right. Cause he was listening to from what we're told, he's listening to his father who played in the minor leagues. And so it's a lot. What Torkelson right now is, perfectly said. Let's make the changes. And if there's, and I watch a lot of Toledo. I mean, I've been watching a lot of Toledo because I'm on Navigato watch right now to see Navigato's up legit.
Check the defense,
yeah, and I just don't see it right now. I could be, there's just certain things to me that when you look at some of the, I don't need the stats to even look at it too. When you're missing a fastball, and there's been some meatballs. I mean, St. Paul had the change, like some of the pitch that I think it was Dingler got that second pitch was just some floating, just like
that was. Yeah, it was Louis Varland, I think, dropped two different knuckle curves onto Dingler, who he demolished them. And it's like Louis Varland appears to be like Minnesota's version of Madden, maybe, or Manning, where it's like they really like his stuff. They like his potential, but he can't seem to figure it out.
Yeah.
And they're like, well.
We've seen him in the major leagues like 2 or 3 different years, it feels like. Maybe I'm wrong, but at least last year. So. He has pitched in the major leagues a little bit, and I mean, I don't really see anything changing down there. And if you look at Torque, it kind of, this is just me projecting, but it kind of feels like, he went down and he probably thought, I'm going to get right, pretty quick. Give me a week or 2 down there, get my timing dialed, I'll be crushing these guys. And now all of a sudden it's 3 and then 4 weeks, and then you suddenly realize like the boat isn't coming back to pick you up. You got to swim, baby. So yeah. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's like a player that's going the opposite way who we got to see St. Paul, by the way. I just wanted to mention this because I did not want to forget, was Brooks Lee. Man, that kid is good. Holy crap, that kid's good. Like, this is a guy who, by the way, spent last year struggling with AAA. Is just demolishing it right now. I mean, he was hitting 237. The adjustment from AA to AAA this year, forget about it. Just mashing the ball. I know there's some Twins fans who want him up right now because they just need a second baseman so bad. But watch that kid, man. It's just he looks the part.
And you kind of see that Twins farm system, at least at the AAA level. There's still some bangers in there. Julian's there. It's like they have like looking at their lineup. I'm like, I know a bunch of these guys. It's a scary lineup to have to pitch to at the AAA level.
Yeah, I think that was it. Wallner was in there too.
Right? Yeah, Wallner was pitching. Yep.
Yeah,
Matt Wallner.
So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Fun first half of the minor leagues. I earlier in the year I meant to like write down the most exciting games because at the end of last year we had like the 5 most memorable games of the year, and I forgot. So I'm gonna have to go back and remember some games.
Friday night, that Friday night game in Erie has to be on the list. That's for sure.
Yeah, that was a wild one. So
even got a little beanball. Tons of run scoring, huge consequence. It had it all.
To end the night on this question, does Torque get called up again this year? Unless there's some significant progress, I mean, they could just roll out what they have now and whatever they get at the trade deadline. Honestly, like I just don't.
Yeah.
Look, I don't want to be. I'm trying not to be a Debbie Downer, but I mean, for Christ's sake, if you're not doing what the org's asking you to do and you're still doing your thing,
right?
Then at some point, what reward? Why reward that? Hey, we're going to reward you for not changing anything.
Yeah, it's not the Army, like we were saying. You can't order these guys to do anything, but you can just be like, well, okay, then you're not going anywhere. I bet they do bring him back up, but I don't know if he'll make any changes or if it'll just be like, well, it's September. I guess we should call him back up again and just see what's what. But I think you'll see him again this year. But they're a better team with Mark Canha playing first base for sure.
Yeah,
right now.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, it's one of those things where like you wonder what they believe. Like if they've already decided that they don't think he's part of the future,
then
I find it hard to believe that they would already have made that decision. But I also don't think you can wait too long and bring him up and he has like a hot 6 weeks. And then what do you do? Like heading into next year, do you do another Canha situation where you have somebody who can play first?
That's the thing. You don't have to give up on him, but you should give up on him as far as like depending on him next year. Like first base is wide open. Yeah.
Yeah. And it, I don't know if we've talked about it much, but it's a pretty unusually solid group of first basemen in free agency this year. It's like, you can go out and get somebody who's going to hit you 25 to 35 home runs for probably not all that much money, and probably be a solid first baseman. And I don't know.
Yeah, and if I don't know what you do. Like if Torque gets hot somewhere, I mean, you're going to call him up again. But is anybody going to give you much to trade for him? And if the Dodgers come calling, are you going to be like, oh God, we can't trade him because he's going to hit 30 home runs next year because they're going to figure this out? In which case, why don't you go and get some of their coaches?
Yeah.
Well, if you sent Torkelson to the A's right now, I swear to God, he'd be absolutely mashing in 2 months. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
but he has to listen. You're both right about that. He has to decide he wants to change. So, like any addiction, you got to make a choice.
Adam, you have to go back to listen to the podcast a little bit. We talked about Erie quite a bit there, and no update on Lee yet. He's on concussion protocol. That's the only thing we know. But other than that,
it doesn't sound like there's anything super serious going on there. But he may not play for another couple games.
Probably a good idea to let him sit for a week, just to make sure, because you get the double, even if it's a minor concussion, you get another one in quick succession. It could be really bad. So hopefully they'll just chill with that. Although I would imagine, based on his personality, as Greg describes it, he'll be fighting his way in the lineup as soon as possible.
Tigers could use a kid like that, right? Like somebody like a real fireball, and and that's what I don't know if we want to get off into this as somebody. Kevin said Keith to first base, and that's kind of been something that's come up a lot. And honestly, it's if you look at the state of the system right now, it's like, okay, well, he's living at second base, that's fine. But you do have Jace Young, and if Jace Young doesn't work out, you do have Hao-Yu. And if Hao-Yu doesn't work out, you've got Kevin McGonigal.
Yep.
So they're set at second base. I think they have plenty of options there. So if they wanted to move Keith to first, I think they could get away with it. But at that point, then you're dealing with a first baseman. You need to really produce offensively. And I think Keith can eventually. I mean, we've seen some pretty good glimpses of that lately, but I don't know if you want to put that pressure on him right now. I don't know if that's more pressure than
I don't think they should
base.
do it. Yeah, well, I don't, and you definitely, I don't think want to do that until the off season. Then you kind of rethink things, and if you're going to get him comfortable at first base, you can start it then. I mean, he's been all right at second base. He's been about, I think, what we expected. Like he's just not quick. He's not quick around the bases. He's not quick with the pitch to second base on a double play turn. He's okay. He's not falling apart out there either. But like you say, there should be plenty more better second baseman defensively coming along, and I think we all think Colt's gonna hit for power here eventually. So
yeah, I that's why I wrote an article on Motor City Bengals about it. I still think that he should be at first base, or maybe and eventually maybe in right too. I mean, I think he has the athleticism to do it too, but we have Carpenter there.
Yeah,
I think what's nice about Keith is you can put him in multiple positions that are not third base on the left side of the infield. Yeah. And the one thing that I would like to see before we get out of here, but I like to see overall the next month is for the Tigers to find at least a short-term solution at shortstop.
Yeah,
because right now this is going. It's brutal. It's brutal. And I'm not going to be one of those. It's so easy to just do the Javi Baez sucks. Enough. Yes, the numbers are not there. Defensively, he was fine. I'm not going to get into that whole line of crap. Yes, but all his replacements have to. But
yeah, I'd rather see Javi. yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I love how people are not complaining as loud about Kreidler or McKinstry as much as they were Baez. Like, is it just me? I don't know. Like,
well, I know, but Baez they dreamed on, and Baez used to be a great player. I mean, that's just kind of how it goes. I mean, Kreidler, you can't be mad at him. He just got here. I still a little weird that they called him up when he had like 40 plate appearances this year, and has missed half of the last 2 seasons. But he's not going to get it done. And I mean, you got to, you have to do something. I don't care if you trade for Paul DeJong and then try to sign him. I don't care. You just have to do something better than what we got going. That's for sure. And as far as Javi, to go back to the the Evan Petzold thing on their pod was just like maybe just let Javi be Javi. Just stop getting in his ear and trying to turn him into some other player, because he's never going to be that dude. And trying to be patient and wait for the right pitch is not his game. And I don't know if it's having any negative effect, but it's definitely not working. So you might as well just tell him to just, go be himself. Just play Javi Baez baseball and, have a good time. And we'll have to figure this thing out sometime in the off season or, at the trade deadline. And they have assets. They've got plenty of assets to trade. So I'm sure we'll all be writing about that soon too.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be coming down the pipe. For sure. So, all right. So thank you so much for listening. We appreciate the Baez is getting paid. The others are not. I understand that, Kevin, but at the same time, it is a system-wide problem that goes back a decade plus. So I'm just saying, don't blame. It's not just Baez's fault. There's other things that go into it too. Development. Speaking of Tigers, haven't done jack squat to develop a shortstop. So I'm not. I'm just saying. I'm just sick and tired of like Baez getting because he's getting paid the contract money. Well, that's no doubt. He is the free agent acquirer. He was supposed to do a job. He didn't do it. But then enough with the org also has to have a plan in place, and they don't, and they haven't in a long time. Yeah, so blame the organization too.
They did it once, and they traded him, and he would be in his final year before free agency. It's Willie Adames.
And we all wanted to trade for him when it came out that Tampa was going to trade for him, and we would have him, and we'd be fine. And if they had traded for Josh Rojas when he cost nothing 2 years ago, like I said, we'd be all set. Have a decent infield.
Woulda, shoulda, coulda.
And you sign Pete Alonso, and we go to town. But we are where we are. So
roster construction does look shaky. Deadly Ninja Bees. On that note, so thanks so much for listening. We appreciate it. It's sound logic. So don't forget, if you can, please donate to our PayPal. There's also a Patreon. Like I said, we'll get the Dylan Dingler, Willie Call Him Up series. The Roberto Campos one is essentially where it should be called up to Erie or not. That's one we're working on. And we have a bunch of draft stuff coming too. So draft show, July 14th, starting at 7:00. We have Michael Gouveia from the Palazzo podcast, the fantasy guy. He's going to be helping us host. And then we're just going to go right into it. So there's already setting up videos, profiles, all that stuff. It's just there's so much going to be going into it. So jam-packed stuff. But don't forget, I'll check out our great content over at TigersMLReport.com. And we'll be back maybe Thursday. Maybe we'll be doing a show in Lansing. Who knows? Uper's off this week. I'm not sure. I don't know if Papchuk's back from Electric Forest. And if he's a different man, does he remember the show? We'll see. Because Electric Forest can get a little groovy there. And so
he sees things differently now. I guarantee it.
Yeah. Oh, man, my hands. He's got big hands like Jack or like Diaz does. So, but we'll see you Thursday. Have a good week, everybody.
Night.